welcome in. It's just so great to have you with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Whether you're, listening to this while getting ready for a meeting or maybe commuting or just taking a well-deserved break, we've designed this custom-tailored deep dive specifically for you. The specific story is titled, My Parents Think I'm in School. And we're basically going to be looking at a single, relatively brief confession.
But the sheer density of what is actually happening in this person's life is, it's astounding.
Yeah, it's wild. We're talking about a 21-year-old living a massive, intricate double life and doing it right under their parents' roof.
Every single day.
Every day. The logistics of it and, just the emotional toll of pulling something like this off, it immediately drew me in.
It's a remarkable situation to analyze. When you look at the details of this person's life, it functions as this profound case study in human psychology.
For sure.
We're looking at a cross-section of deep guilt, the crushing weight of familial expectation, and honestly, just the paralyzing fear of disappointment.
Right.
It goes far beyond the mere mechanics of a lie. It's really about the architecture of that deception, the socioeconomic pressures that built it, and the mental fortress required to maintain it.
Maintain it day in and day out.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start at the genesis of this massive secret, because the starting point of this entire deception was a total academic collapse.
A complete collapse.
Right. This 21-year-old was completely overwhelmed by the university environment. The source explicitly says they couldn't keep up with the pressure.
Which happens to a lot of students.
It does.
Right.
But here, they failed most of their courses last year, and it actually reached the point where the school stepped in.
Right. The school intervened.
Yeah, the school asked them to defer the program.
Yeah.
So, they aren't just skipping a few morning lectures. They are completely out of the academic system right now.
Which, failing courses is not entirely uncommon. Universities asking students to take a deferment to regroup Prativ. That's a relatively standard administrative procedure.
Right. It happens every semester.
Exactly. The vital piece of the puzzle here is why this common academic stumble metastasized into a life-altering secret.
Yeah.
And the student provides the exact reason. They note that they haven't told their parents because the parents struggled so deeply to pay the university fees.
Wow.
That is the absolute core of this entire situation.
It completely shifts the stakes, doesn't it?
Entirely.
It takes it from a difficult, maybe awkward conversation about messing up some grades to just a devastating conversation about wasting the money that your parents literally bled to give you.
Right.
I can only imagine the pressure of knowing that your seat in that lecture hall was bought with your family's financial security.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to deeply analyze the crushing weight of financial sacrifice within a family unit.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Because when parents struggle, when they scrape together every last dime or take on significant hardship to afford university fees, the education ceases to be just a standard opportunity for the child.
It becomes something else entirely.
It transforms into a sacred debt. The student is carrying the weight of their parents' labor, their delayed dreams, their physical struggles.
So the failure hits differently.
Exactly. So when the academic failure occurred, this 21-year-old didn't just see a failing grade on a transcript. They perceived a profound betrayal of their parents' immense sacrifice.
A sacred debt. You can almost feel the walls closing in on this kid.
You really can.
Because they're already overwhelmed by the coursework. Right. Which is stressful enough for any young adult trying to navigate higher education.
Sure.
But then you layer on this profound, silencing guilt. It completely makes sense why they snapped under the pressure.
It's the only logical outcome in their mind.
Yeah, the fear of looking into your parents' eyes and having to admit that the money they suffered to provide is gone, with literally nothing to show for it. That must have been so terrifying that lying just felt like the only viable survival tactic.
It is a textbook avoidance strategy, born directly out of deep emotional distress and guilt.
Right.
The financial struggle of the parents essentially removed the student's ability to be vulnerable. In a different environment, perhaps one where money wasn't an existential issue, a student might feel comfortable going to their parents.
Just saying, hey, I'm overwhelmed, I need help.
Exactly. But the financial sacrifice erected an invisible wall. The guilt silenced them. The failure became internalized as something deeply shameful.
A reflection of their worth.
Yes, a reflection not of their academic preparedness, but of their perceived worthiness of their parents' love and hard work. The stakes were simply too high for the truth.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because it's one thing to just stay quiet about failing out of school.
A lie of omission.
Right. But it is an entirely different thing to physically act out the lie every single day.
Absolutely.
This isn't just a secret kept in their head. It's a daily physical routine. Every single morning, this 21-year-old leaves the house with their backpack, actively pretending to head off to lectures.
The physical manifestation of the lie is where the psychological toll really begins to multiply.
Yeah.
Because the backpack is no longer a functional item, it's a prop in a daily theatrical performance.
A prop in a daily performance. I love that phrasing. And the reality of where they are actually going with that prop is what makes this so jarring to me.
Right, they aren't going to the library.
No, they aren't going to a library to secretly study or hanging out on a campus green trying to figure out their next move.
No.
They actually spend their entire day working at a small phone shop, helping the owner sell accessories.
The contrast is incredibly sharp.
It's night and day. On one hand, you have the expectation. Sitting in a vibrant, bustling university lecture hall, taking notes, surrounded by peers, building a professional future.
And on the other hand, the reality.
Standing in a small phone shop for 8 hours, selling phone cases and chargers.
What's fascinating here is the severe psychological disconnect between those two realities. And this ties into the concept of cognitive depletion.
Tell me more about that.
Well, the cognitive dissonance required to live that out must be incredibly exhausting. Every time they sell a screen protector or untangle a charger, they are acutely aware that their parents believe they are listening to a professor dissect complex theories.
Wow. Yeah.
The gap between what they are doing and what they are supposed to be doing is vast. Bridging that gap in their own mind while maintaining a constant state of hypervigilance takes a massive toll on a person's mental energy.
I keep thinking about it like an actor putting on a heavy, restrictive costume every single morning.
That's a great analogy.
You know, you wake up, you put on this intricately designed costume of a successful university student.
Yeah.
You strap on the backpack, you adjust your posture, you walk out the front door, and you wave goodbye to your parents.
The performance starts the second they wake up.
Exactly. And you have to keep the costume on during your commute, right? Scanning the crowd just in case a family friend is on the same bus.
Hypervigilance.
And then, the very moment you are out of sight, you have to mentally transition into this completely different mundane reality of the phone shop.
It's exhausting just to hear about it.
It's like building a massive, fragile house of cards every morning, knowing one wrong move could knock it down, and then having to carefully dismantle it and rebuild it the next day.
And unlike a stage actor, there is no backstage where they can truly drop the character.
Oh, that's a good point.
Even when they return home from the phone shop, the performance simply shifts to a different stage. They are trapped in the role.
Yeah, they can't break character.
They don't get to come home and vent about a difficult customer at the shop or celebrate a good sales day because that life doesn't officially exist.
It's a phantom life.
This constant suppression of their actual reality is what brings us to the most actively damaging part of this entire dynamic.
The compounding effect. The moment they walk back through the front door.
Exactly.
Because parents naturally want to be involved in their child's life. They believe their child is immersed in university, so of course they continually ask about exams and projects.
It's normal parental behavior.
Right. And this 21-year-old is forced to just lie right to their faces every night.
This raises an important question, and it highlights a crucial distinction in the psychology of deception.
Okay.
There is a massive psychological difference between a lie of omission and an active daily fabrication.
Right. We touched on that earlier.
When the deferment first happened, the student committed a lie of omission. They simply withheld the truth. Silence is a passive act.
You just don't say anything.
Right. It's damaging to a relationship, certainly, but it requires less immediate cognitive effort. However, the moment the parents ask, "How was your exam today?" or "What is your group project about?"
Then what happens?
That passive omission instantly demands an active, aggressive fabrication.
You literally have to start inventing a world from scratch.
Exactly. On the spot.
For you listening right now, it's a scenario anyone can imagine. Just picture sitting at the dinner table across from the people who sacrificed everything for your future.
They're looking at you with pure pride.
Yes, they look at you with pride and ask how your midterm went. And you haven't been in a classroom for months.
The panic sets in.
To maintain the lie, you have to look them directly in the eye and construct a fiction on the spot. You have to invent a professor's name, invent a difficult test question, invent the grade you expect to get.
And do it flawlessly.
The sheer cognitive load of doing that without breaking eye contact, without hesitating or stuttering, is absolutely staggering.
It requires an immense amount of memory management. Every time a question is asked, the student has to access their fabricated memory bank.
Keeping the story straight.
They have to ensure the new lie aligns perfectly with the lies they told last week. If they invented a strict professor on Tuesday, they have to remember to complain about that same strict professor on Friday.
Wow. Yeah, one slip up and it's over.
They have to deliver it convincingly and simultaneously bury the immense guilt of manipulating the people they love most.
It just snowballs.
Active fabrication creates a complex web. One lie about a project necessitates a future lie about the grade on that project, which necessitates another lie about the final exam.
It never ends.
The web grows exponentially, and the student becomes increasingly entangled and isolated within it.
And the isolation has to be absolute, because the deeper you get into that web, the further away you get from the people who actually know you.
You become a stranger in your own home.
Which perfectly brings us to the absolute breaking point of this situation. So what does this all mean? Where does a daily performance like this eventually lead?
It leads to a very dark place.
The 21-year-old ends their confession with a truly haunting realization. They admit that they know one day the truth will come out, and they are terrified of that day.
That realization is the tragic crescendo of the entire scenario.
It really is.
It reveals a startling level of self-awareness. The student is not delusional. They haven't convinced themselves that they can seamlessly transition from the phone shop to a fake graduation ceremony and just keep this up forever.
They know it's going to crash.
They know with absolute certainty that this situation is completely unsustainable. It's a ticking clock, but they are entirely paralyzed by the fear of the inevitable fallout.
It's the ultimate feeling of being trapped.
Completely paralyzed.
Like standing on the train tracks, seeing the train coming from a mile away, but physically being unable to force your legs to jump out of the way.
That's exactly it.
We were talking earlier about the weight of the lie, but this anticipation, this waiting for the inevitable drop of the curtain, it feels like a unique form of self-inflicted punishment.
In many ways, the fear of the truth coming out has become far worse than the original academic failure ever could have been.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. If they had told the truth initially, there would have been anger, disappointment, and a difficult period of adjustment.
Sure. Tears, arguments.
But then the family could have moved forward. They could have found a solution together, whether that meant tutoring, finding a different career path, or just taking a structured gap year.
They could have been a team.
By building this intricate daily performance, the student has robbed the family of the opportunity to solve the problem.
Oh, that is so true.
They're living on borrowed time, and every single day that passes, the inevitable explosion becomes larger and more destructive. The dread is undoubtedly consuming them from the inside out.
The dread has to be this all-consuming fog that just colors every interaction in that house.
It ruins everything.
You can't truly enjoy anything. Even a simple, loving gesture from a parent, like them handing you a plate of food after a long day, or telling you how proud they are of your hard work, it must feel terrible.
It becomes a source of pain.
Because you know they are proud of a phantom.
Yeah.
They're directing their love and pride at a version of you that simply does not exist. You are robbing them of the truth, but you're also robbing yourself of their authentic love and support during a time when you are clearly struggling and need it the most.
The underlying tragedy here is the original intent. The lie was initially constructed to protect the parents from pain.
Yeah, that's the irony of it.
The student couldn't bear the thought of their parents realizing their financial struggle had seemingly been for nothing. The root of the deception was actually love and a desire to shield them.
It came from a good place.
It did. But the mechanism chosen to provide that protection, this elaborate daily deception, is fundamentally eroding the entire relationship.
It's destroying the foundation.
The parents think they are supporting a student. The student knows they are deceiving their parents. The shared reality of the family has completely fractured.
When we started this deep dive, our mission was to unpack a brief confession from Nzema TV USA Untold Stories.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We have journeyed all the way from the initial collapse under immense academic pressure to the profound silencing guilt over the parents' financial sacrifices.
Yes.
We walked through the surreal, exhausting daily performance of strapping on a backpack to go work at a phone shop.
We examine that critical shift from a passive omission to an active, exhausting fabrication required to answer everyday questions.
Right.
And we arrived at that inescapable looming dread, The terrifying, paralyzing awareness that the house of cards is built on borrowed time and will inevitably collapse.
It is a profound look at the extreme, desperate lengths people will go to in order to protect the ones they love from disappointment, even if that protection slowly destroys their own peace of mind, day by day, lie by lie.
It highlights a terrible paradox of the human condition. Sometimes our desperation to honor someone's sacrifice leads us to dishonor the very truth of our relationship with them. The instinct to protect can sometimes become the very thing that causes the most profound damage.
It really is heartbreaking. And as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought.
Something to think about.
Exactly. Something to mull over as you go about the rest of your day long after you take off your headphones. Consider this. When this elaborate lie finally breaks, and it will break, the parents will obviously have to mourn the loss of the degree and the wasted tuition money.
Of course.
But more profoundly, they're going to have to mourn the loss of the last year of their child's life. A year that, to them, essentially never existed.
That's a heavy thought.
How do you go about rebuilding trust and a genuine connection with someone when you realize that your entire recent history with them was a complete fiction?
It changes everything.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope it gave you something powerful to think about. Take care.